So a couple of things. Short version, our purpose is really simple and clear tonight, which is I want to make sure that I can answer all of your questions regarding the Samurai game that is coming for the very first time to Alberta at the end of June here. Make sure that you have all of your questions answered. You understand what it is, where we're going, what we're doing, what you could get out of it, all of that fun, wonderful stuff. So short version is this. I'll give you a little bit of an overview. I'll open up the lines for any questions that you may have, which we can do a couple of different ways depending how comfortable you are with GoToWebinar. You can, of course, just pop your hand up at any point in time, and I will acknowledge you and unmute you, and we can have a little conversation. You, at any point in time, can, of course, type a comment in the questions field. I'll see it. I will respond to it as quick as we possibly can. And on that note, we are pretty much ready to roll. So, the Samurai Game, answering your questions, help you make a clear choice. Let us start with what I am asked most often in terms of the entire scenario of what the Samurai Game is and how that works and all that fun stuff. What is a Samurai Game? Where did it come from? All of those pieces. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background in terms of the history of the Samurai Game. Now, first and foremost is that the Samurai Game was designed by a gentleman named George Leonard. This is a picture in the little corner there of the late George Leonard, and he was a pretty fascinating man. And I'll give you a bunch of rundowns, and then I'll tell you why that's pertinent in relationship to the Samurai Game. So first and foremost is that George Leonard was an Air Force fighter pilot, so he actually flew a fighter in the Second World War. He and a bunch of his friends and comrades. He was an author. He wrote, actually, a very prolific author. I wrote down The Silent Pulse because The Silent Pulse has been on the recommended and required reading list for facilitator training and facilitator development really since the beginning of time. And it was one of the books that I had one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. And so it's just one of a multitude. So, really prolific writer. Um, there was a very famous magazine in the US called Look Magazine that he was the editor of for a good chunk of time, started as one of the journalists. And what's a little interesting, fascinating piece about him, he actually predicted the 1960s countercultural revolution. He even predicted it so far as to say that it would start in California and all of those pieces, which is kind of a fascinating piece. He is a fifth degree black belt in Aikido, was president emeritus of the Esalen Institute. The Esalen Institute has been often called the Cape Canaveral of inner space, and a multitude of brilliant ideas and books and movements were given birth to at that spot. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2010. So he lived a long life, passed away at the age of 86, way back when. Now, the reason I am sharing all of this with you is one of the things that's quite fascinating about the Samurai Game, because there's a million different experiences and processes and courses and programs that have been designed over the years. There just truly aren't that many that still exist years later in terms of being still delivered. And the course is actually delivered by the Family Foundation, so the George Leonard Family Foundation. And when we deliver the course, we make a significant contribution to that family foundation that supports his ongoing work and a variety of other pieces that are important and significant. Now, I want to star this particular little item here, is that he was an Air Force fighter pilot. And after the Second World War, George and a multitude of his friends, like most, let's call them war buddies or people who survived that particular experience, they would get together and they would talk about their experience both pre, during, and post war. And there was a pretty consistent conversation that happened over and over and over again with the war buddies, is that they spoke of those moments in their war experience that they had difficulty recreating, and those moments were the moments where they were ultra present. They were almost, people use sometimes words like omnipresent. I could see and be and felt like I was at all places at all times. I knew where somebody was coming from in another fighter plane. It was a state that was astounding to them. And one of the questions was, could we recreate that state outside of the experience of war and having our lives So back to George. So we support his foundation, and we do a significant amount of work there. But the Air Force fighter pilots were trying to recreate this state of ultra presence, of unbelievable awareness, of those moments of being, which seems like a bit of a paradox, unbelievably alive and engaged, and yet somehow slightly almost separate and transcendent. And I'm willing to bet that most of us have had some versions of this experience in their lives at different times. But the question really becomes is how could it be recreated? Now, it was that conversation with his fighter pilot buddies that actually led him to come to the idea of designing what ultimately became the Samurai game. Now, the whole point to this, I just want to have a quick little sort of question or conversation and check in. So, how many people feel as though they've ever had one of those transcendent experiences of flow, where it is just unbelievably astounding, fully engaged, fully present, all of those elements? And if you've had one of those experiences, please just raise your hand. Just pop your hand up and give me an idea. I'm not going to call on you or any sorts of things. I just want to do a quick little survey of how many people feel as though they've really genuinely had that experience. Okay. Looks like most of us on the line have had some experience of that nature in some way, shape, or form. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here's the thing. That's what the Samurai game is about. That's why we're going to be doing it, is to be able to, number one, become more aware of it and all of those elements. Now, it is significantly more than just that, because what transpires is for that to occur is that there's elements of consciousness, there's elements of our state management, there's elements of how we deal with stress, there's elements of how we show up in terms of leadership, there's elements of all kinds of amazing aspects. So I want to just tell you a little bit about who is actually leading the game. And the facilitator is a gentleman named Keith Benz. And again, I'm just going to give you a list of a bunch of things about that, and then I'm going to fill you in, and tell you how all this came to pass, so to speak. So he's a master trainer. He has been facilitating personal development transformation programs literally since the beginning of time. He's a member of ATL, which is the Association of Transformational Leaders, which is actually where we met and became fast friends and had all kinds of giggles and laughs. He was personally trained by George Leonard, and it's one of the things that the foundation has taken a bunch of those things over, and not every single person who is able to do that was actually trained by George. And he and George did a bunch of work together, which to me, I think gets it close to the authentic experience as it was designed and intended as possible. An interesting tidbit that just fascinates me to no end is that Keith was actually the director of training for LifeSpring for over a decade. And for those of you that don't know, Personal Best Seminar / the Creator's Code, I've often described as a bastard grandchild of LifeSpring. And what I meant by that is that the rights were purchased for Canada from LifeSpring. It came to Canada, and then we evolved in a bunch of different ways. But if you were to think of it, is that LifeSpring perhaps had one of the most significant impacts in terms of training facilitators that then went on and did their own types of programs, workshops, created organizations, and all of those elements. And what was fascinating about that is that he has probably personally trained more facilitators and has co-created in that process more organizations that have been doing personal transformational work and this consciousness work than almost anyone on planet Earth. Because LifeSpring was at one point in time when he was at this was a machine in training, supporting, and certifying facilitators. So just being in his presence is a pretty brilliant and astounding and neat experience, to put it mildly. So the other part, and this is I put this up here for fun and entertainment. He's a fly fishing fanatic, and I share that with you for this primary reason: is that how I got him. And I want to be really clear about this. The Samurai game has never before been delivered in Alberta. We're incredibly excited to be able to do that. And how we got him was two things: is that number one, we became fast friends at ATL. So it was like, oh, so here's somebody who has some history, all the rest of it. He actually knew some of the original people that came to Calgary and started doing some of the basic and advanced trainings. And I baited him with, you know what, if you happen to come to Calgary in the summer, the Bow River is some of the best fly fishing in the entire world. So it was those two things that got me to bring him in and for him to agree. Now, I want to be as clear as I can about this. We were damn lucky to get him the entire year. He had 2 open weekends, and one of those open weekends happened to be in the summer, and that's how we got him for the June weekend. So, long and the short of it is this. In my humble opinion, if you are interested in coaching, if you're interested in training, if you're interested in those types of pieces, then what you really got to do is spend some time with him. And from my humble opinion, the nominal fee for this course would be worth it just to share space with somebody who's had this amount of influence, impact, and experience in the transformational game and in the transformational industry. So that's a little bit of the background. Now let's talk about what the weekend is about. And for all intents and purposes, what I want you to think about is this, is that the weekend is really oriented around this one idea. For the purposes of the time we're going to spend together, it is for you to literally become a samurai. So in a very real world, you get the opportunity to actually be at war, to be in service to a daimyo, to understand what loyalty is, to test yourself in terms of competitions. And I want to be really clear about this: the competitions that you're testing, nobody's going to be physically harmed, and there's that you do not need to rely in terms of your physical well-being or any of those sorts of things. This is far beyond that. But what you are going to do is you are going to, actually, I missed a part I want to really be clear about, is that samurai literally stands for Japanese meaning to serve or to be of service. And what you will learn in terms of this entire weekend is what it means to be of service, what it means to be a warrior, what it means to engage all of yourself, to be present in your life, to create what is most important, to play as part of a team, to step up as a leader when is necessary, to make sacrifices if you so choose to do, and what the implications of those things are. Now, in terms of what it means to become a samurai, there's a whole bunch of experiential activities and experiences and contests and games and structures that you're going to participate in individually and as a group. But the big idea here is that you are going to follow the code of Bushido. And Bushido just simply means the path of a warrior. And I want to just give you an idea of what the code of Bushido is. So, first and foremost, it is respect, that is of self, that is of others. Loyalty. The samurai were known for unbelievable loyalty, and a samurai quite literally would swear his life to his daimyo and would do anything and everything, including kill oneself if there was a slip in their loyalty. It was a pretty astounding thing. What does it mean to be committed? What does it mean to be committed to myself? What does it mean committed to a vision? What does it mean committed to a result? What does it mean to be committed to an organization? What does it mean to be committed to another human being? Dignity. And this is in terms of how these ideas get played out. Dignity and respect is about the dignity of all, including your opponent. And one of the ways in which samurai would demonstrate respect and dignity is that they would ensure that their sword was so sharp that if they were to use it and behead their opponent, that their sword would be so sharp that the opponent would not even feel the cut of the sword. So an interesting versions of respect and dignity in all those pieces in terms of the ancient samurai whose literally their lives depended upon it. So really a fascinating experience there. Courage. And I want to be really clear about what courage means, which is simply this: this is not about a lack of fear. It is about recognizing, acknowledging, and being honorable and truthful about fear and acting in a way that is not driven by fear. It is driven more by my loyalty, my commitment, my respect, who I said I would be, and how I said I would be in my life and in my world. Awareness. The samurai were known quite literally to be, I use the word almost omnipresent in terms of the fighter pilot experience that George and his buddies had experienced when they were fighting in the Second World War. But the samurai was known to be aware of everything. Being able to walk into a village and as they're walking into the village, to recognize that there were 7 houses. In those houses there was 3 kids. The farm on the left had 7 goats, the farm on the right had 2 goats. That, like, they had a sensory awareness and acuity, not only about their external environment but about their internal world, that was second to none. It's one of the reasons why they were respected, feared, and viewed as some of the most powerful and amazing warriors on planet Earth. And they had compassion. They absolutely had compassion for other people. They had compassion for themselves. They had compassion for families. They had compassion for animals. Um, Now, again, how that compassion was expressed might be a little different than how it is expressed today, but these are the fundamental basis of the Code of Bushido and the path that the samurai dedicated themselves to living, to being, when they were at war, when they were at a study, when they were at with their families. These were the fundamentals. Now, this is precisely what we're going to be working on, and precisely what we're going to provide a variety of different ways to step into and create. What does this mean for each of us right now in our lives, with the goals that we're working on, with the people in our lives, with ourselves? And basically, what's going to transpire is this: we're going to spend Friday night understanding what this means. We're going to go do a series of exercise activities and processes. Then on Saturday, all day long, fundamentally, we're going to play the Samurai game. This is where we are going to quite literally be at war, be samurai. And I want to be clear about this. This isn't role playing samurai. For the day that we are playing it, you will be a samurai. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no exceptions. And if you're not, it will likely cost you your life in the process, metaphorically, quite clearly. Now, this is what we're up to. And then on Sunday, we are going to bridge what does it take for us to take these lessons and make them real in our life? How do we carry that warrior energy? How do we carry the code of Bushido? How do we carry the commitment, the clarity, the wisdom of a samurai into our day-to-day lives? And that's what we spend Sunday on. So before I move on, are there any clarifying questions just about the Code of Bushido, about any of those aspects? And you can just pop your hand up. I can unmute you. We can have a little conversation. Just let me know if there's anything I can clarify in terms of the overview thus far. So I'll jump to my experience playing. And I had the honor and the privilege to play the game in actually at the ATL last session, and it was really a cool and neat experience. And there's a little picture of Jack Canfield, which I'll tell you more about in a moment or two. So the first thing I want to tell you is that for those of you who have done some of our programs, the most important thing under the sun is that this would be, think of it on par with the Red Black game, with Lifeboat, with Surrender, those moments where we really get a glimpse into who and how we are being. So that said, that is absolutely true. You could think of it as those 3 things wrapped into one and put on speed. But more important than that is that I had a ton of fun playing. And one of the pieces about this, and I have, by the way, I have no illusions or understanding or misunderstandings that. So it's a ton of fun. You're going to have an absolute blast playing the game. There is no question about that. The next piece about it is that it will be a perfect, or it was for me, and it will be for you, a perfect reflection of your current state. What I mean by your current state is that it simply means this: is that how am I being in my world right now? And I don't know how many of you are in a spot. We all have our ups and our downs, where we're a little bit stronger, where we're not quite as strong. But you will absolutely get that without a doubt. And not just how it is, but what could make you more powerful? What could make you more present? What could engage you in a more meaningful and significant manner? I want you to understand is that in the game, first and foremost, there are a multitude of different roles. There's different areas of expertise. You don't need to be I know that actually a couple of people from Calgary actually signed up for sword fighting lessons prior to the Samurai game. Now, I can't speak about every samurai game, but I can give you my word. When I was playing it, there was no sword play, so you don't have to worry about being a great swords person to get a ton of value out of the course and the program. So just understand that there are different roles, there's different areas of expertise, and all you need to do is show up being willing to play, and there will be a multitude of opportunities for you to engage full on and completely. Now, here's the reason why I put Jack Canfield's picture here. I thought this was the funniest thing. So on my side or my team, I was the daimyo, and the daimyo, think of it in ancient feudal Japan, the daimyo was the landlord. That was he or she owned the property that the samurai lived on, and the samurai would swear their allegiance to the daimyo. So, short version: if the daimyo said jump, the samurai jumped. No, no, nothing. So I was the daimyo's right hand, so their lieutenant or number one, and I thought this was funny as hell. And my backup, if something were to happen to me in the battle, was Jack Canfield. So I thought it was kind of fun and entertaining that you know. If things go wrong, then and all the rest of it, Jack Canfield will step in to cover me. But I got that position of leadership, and how that happened is quite a fascinating, amazing experience. So anyway, I think that that's kind of funny. I just need to get that working in real life and having Jack as my full time backup if something happens to me. But I should actually point out in terms of this game, is that the caliber of people who play this game, and you've got to understand, in the whole personal development industry and arena and all the rest of it, there's a little bit of my stuff is better than your stuff. My consciousness is deeper than your consciousness. A bunch of silly stuff, and not everyone is willing to do other people's stuff. But when I played the game, the caliber of people that was in that room would absolutely knock your socks off. So, for example, Jack Canfield was actively playing, and his wife was there actively playing. Eckhart Tolle's wife was there playing with us. I don't know if any of you remember Yakov Smirnov, the Russian comedian. Who's now actually doing public speaking and some organizational consulting and a variety of things like that. He was playing with us. Ariana Huffington came in and had a little, like, it was the caliber of people who play this game are really quite astounding, and it's just simply an honor and a privilege to do so. Now, to me, more important than who was playing and all that fun stuff, that was a little bit of fun and entertainment and an interesting standard and experience to play with. The application for me, and I'll tell you straight up, is that I did not play the entire game. I would say about halfway through, I died in a way I will not share with you. About halfway through, and it was a perfect mirror for me. So I died through a momentary lack of focus. So the application for me post the experience has been, where am I focusing my energy? Who gets my energy? Who doesn't get my energy? How do I make sure that I'm not doing too much where I get distracted and then something important and significant falls through the cracks? In this case, like staying alive. The next piece for that was better parenting. And one of the pieces about this focus of energy is that Wyatt is now 7.5, smart as a whip. Jackson's turning 3 this summer. And the dynamics between the two of them, I think many of you who know me, you know that they can be taxing. And what I came away from the game with is that I can get reactive to a specific set of behaviors when Wyatt's being mean to his brother. And what was really important for me was that, you know what? I need to be neutral about it. It is just one more way in which he chooses to behave, and that one way has a set of consequences. And I'm not the one who needs to live with those consequences. Wyatt is the one who needs to live with those consequences. I will manage my state. I will be more present. I will be more neutral, and he will reap the rewards of the consequences of great choices, and he will pay the prices of the consequences that are not so great based upon his behavior. He controls it in terms of what the consequences are, and my state stays the same. And I have been doing unbelievably better at that as a result of playing the game. And the next piece about it, in terms of just seeing how all of the elements fit together, is I've been increasing my support. And I've been increasing my support in a multitude of different ways. I have a fantastic personal assistant who's been doing a bunch of work for me. We've engaged other people around the home to be of assistance and support to me. We've engaged people to support with Wyatt and Jackson in terms of trying to handle that dynamic. And all three of those pieces have led me to a really cool and powerful spot um, that I've, frankly, just needed the kick in the ass of playing the game to get registered with. So that is my experience. That is a little bit of the history and all of those pieces. At this stage of the game, I'd just like to open the lines and the conversations to Q&A. So, and I'm more interested in Q&A about the lessons, the context, the experience. After we do this, I'll handle the mechanics of the wherefore, the why to, the how much, all those sorts of things. But if we could break it up in that manner, I think that's probably about the best way we can do it. So again, of course, you can type a little question. You can pop your hand up. I will do my best to answer everything I can without, of course, telling you all of the exact and specific details. So, any questions, my friends? So this is a great question. So, if you're out of the game early, what is your role? So, just to be clear about it, is that you are never out of the game. You may or may not be alive, but you are never out of the game. And that's a piece that I can't give you too much more details around. But there is a significant and powerful role. Your how you show up in terms of what transpires if you die has significant impact and influence on your team. All of those things. So you're actually never out of the game. However, your roles can change quite dramatically, including being dead. Does that answer the question, Cindy? Anything else, gang, that I can answer for you? I feel like humming that little tune from Jeopardy. Do 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 do. It sounds pretty cool, and honestly, it is exceptionally cool. I just truly, genuinely loved it. And what I can tell you for sure is that timing was right for me. It was really a fabulous treat for me to be in the class, not leading the class. The other piece about that is that both Rayanne and I are going to be there basically as team for Keith. And so whatever he wants, we get to play that role and have some fun. So I don't know if that means that we are going to be that there's a role in the game called the Gods of War, which we may or may not be doing, or we may just simply be uh, on each of the sides in terms of when the game plays out. So yeah, it's going to be pretty fantastic. Anyone else I can answer in terms of lessons, context, experience, or do you really just need to hear the mechanical details? Is June is June considered summer in Calgary? I wasn't going to ask, but you didn't get enough questions. Well, June is considered summer in Calgary, Cat. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't bring your winter parka. And I think it's hard to ask questions with a situation I have no experience with, and I know that that is absolutely true, Cindy. And that's part of the reason why we decided to do this, which is, lots of our grads have had similar experiential type activities, but they haven't really had this experience, and this is an truly and genuinely unique experience in this realm of transformation and consciousness. So it is a little tough to ask to answer questions, but we want to just create this opportunity so at least we could have a dialogue about what is, what isn't, and I could share from my personal experience of playing. Is the similar format to the gift and launch, meaning instruction, experiential, and discussion. Yes, it absolutely is. In terms of that perspective, is that there is that whole idea of it is an experiential training and that we are going to go through this piece and then we're going to figure out how it applies to our lives. So it's similar in that respect, but do not have any expectations of how the chairs are going to be set, what the ground rules are, how any of those things play out. It is radically and dramatically different from that perspective. So just come with your commitment to play full on. head and heart in and see how it plays out, because it is absolutely not like any of the other courses that we offer. Period. And just to be clear about it, it isn't that we offer. We were um, basically we're bringing Keith. It's his. He's licensed to do the course for the George Leonard Foundation. Oh, you're welcome. All right, gang. Last chance for this part, and then I'll go through the mechanical details. Okay, mechanical details it is. And please know, if you got a question that says we're going through this, just ask me. I'm happy to do it. So the event details is it's going to be in Calgary, and the hotel, just to be clear about it, is to be determined or to be confirmed. One of the requirements of the game is a very specific size and space for the actual Saturday piece, and we're just making sure that we absolutely fulfill exactly what he had asked for. Now, the hours of the workshop are this: Friday 7 to approximately 11, and there is significant homework on Friday night. Please note that some of that stuff from Friday night rolls through to Saturday. That can be handled on Saturday because we don't start until 11 a.m. So Saturday is a really full day. So we go from 11 a.m. to approximately 10 p.m. And then on Sunday, it's 10 a.m. to approximately 5. So you can get out of there, have supper with your family, and all that fun, wonderful stuff. So it's a full weekend, slightly different timing than our standard 10 a.m. starts and those sorts of things. But for the most part, same sort of deal. Now, next piece is this stuff that you need to bring with you. So bring snacks and water, and so that you can take care of yourself as we're going through the process. Dress, be comfortable slash normal. I know that is questionable for sometimes our gang, but what I mean by that is you don't need to be in any specific anything. So for Friday and Sunday, you just need to be comfortable. You need to be able to move around. You need to be able to sit and write. You need to be able to process and have conversations. Now, Saturday, we suggest sweats, running, runners in terms of moving around, anything that's really easy for you to move in. So if you're a yoga fan, you could wear your yoga outfit, whatever the case may be. Bring a journal, as there's going to be a lot of both introspection and ongoing commentary about your reactions, about your feelings, about your presence, about your ability to see and become more aware of self. So you want to be able to be prepared for that. And frankly, just anything else that will support you. I will say to you this is that I know that ground rules in terms of how this goes. Ground rules in this course are, I think you can think of it as being pretty similar in terms of what happens in our courses. That of confidentiality, respect of other people, all the rest of it is going to be pretty standard for Friday and Sunday. One of the things that you need to know about the Saturday is you can expect the unexpected. Um, and I'll just share one bit with you. I was talking with the facilitator who did my Samurai game the first time. Is that when he was trained with George Leonard, the gods of war are instructed to be capricious, which means they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and they don't really give a rat's ass about your thoughts, feelings, or concerns about it. The gods of war are the gods of war, and that's how that goes. So the ground rules for the Saturday are radically different than what happens in terms of traditional stuff on Friday and Sunday. So that's what you need to bring with you. Any questions about the mechanical details, the whens, the wheres, the whys, the whats? Okay. So then that takes us to the last part, which is come be a samurai. And to do so, that takes commitment. Now, we've had actually really quite fantastic uptake and response to this. And we really haven't done a whole heck of a lot of marketing about it. Basically, I got Keith's agreement to come to Calgary. I don't know what that was, about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago. We've been mentioning it in the classrooms, and both Calgary and Edmonton agreed to split the 60 spots, meaning that they've got 30 and we've got 30, just part of us sharing that entire piece. Now, in Calgary, we're down to our last 7 spots, and I think that Edmonton is very similar to that, and Heather is on the line. Um, and if I'm wrong about that, you will let me know. Um, So basically, we're at the short strokes of it. Edmonton has a gift coming up June 7th to 9th. We have a weekend program that same weekend, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff where it's going to be sold out. The only question is are you going to be in it? Oh, Cindy, I saw your question. Will we be leaving the premises during Saturday? No, you're there, engaged in that specific facility. It's one of the reasons why we have to find something that's exactly the right size and meets the specifications. But no, we are all together in that space. You don't have to worry about going anywhere else or traveling gear or any sorts of things. So if you want to do it, we would love, love, love to have you. And the weekend is $897, and we price that at the same price as any of our other weekends that we do. I think a strong argument could have been made that that could have been set at a premium. Now, here's the truth of it. We want to get the thing filled. We want to complete the marketing as we are moving at the end of this month. For those of you that don't know, we actually sold the Personal Best building in Calgary, and we are moving out at the end of this month. Our business model is changing to being far more interactive and meaning that we're going to be online. We're doing courses all over God's green earth. We've been in Chicago, Orlando, Los Angeles. We've got another date in Los Angeles. We've got Phoenix coming. So it just doesn't make sense for us to have that. So we're moving. And frankly, we're busy getting rid of 22 years of stuff out of that building. So we just want this thing handled. Um, Say goodbye to the Personal Best building. Letting it go as well. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, we just want this thing done. And if you want to take some of those last spots, if you want to take action on it, it's a special offer tonight only. You can save $200. So that would make it only $697, which is, I think, a screaming value. Just spending time with Keith for that amount of time, I think, is worth that. And the other piece is that we will give you a bonus, which is called the Power of Mission webinar. Now, that webinar we generally sell for $197, and it is a tremendously aligned preparation tool for you to show up to the Samurai Game and being clear and committed about who you are, how you're going to be in the world, and what that's going to take. And Heather was just typed to me and said that there are 8 spots left for the Edmonton piece. So we would love to have you. It would be a stunning and amazing experience. And it's just as simple as that. Is there anything else I can answer for you before I show you links and all that fun stuff? Okay. So you can do it in 2 ways, and this is going to just take us out of here for a second. Just bear with me for a moment. You can do it in 2 ways, one of which is a single payment of $697, and I'm just going to put that in the chat window here. And that's the purchase link for one payment, $697. It saves you that money. Now, if you need to split it up, we're fine with that, but it's going to cost you a little bit more money. So it is 3 payments of $250, and I'm just putting that in that same typed window. So in the chat window there, you have the links. If you want to take advantage of it, we would love to have you. Anything else I can answer for any of you related to this entire piece that would help you decide I'm in, I'm not in, any of the above? Okay. Oh, quiet peoples. All right, my friends. So here's the last thing that I'm going to say about it is that I believe that the Samurai Game is one of the most significant and powerful experiences that I have ever had related to challenging myself, being present, and bringing all of myself to focus on a particular task. Now, from my perspective, I think that that's more important today than it has ever been because we are being conditioned to all have ADD, ADHD, and go to check our email and we land on singing cats on YouTube 3 hours later. The capacity to direct our energy and the awareness of what that means is, I think, one of the single greatest takeaways, not just for myself, but for the multitude of people that I played with and the multitude of people I spoke to who have played it more than once and have shared the impact and significance in their lives. So if you want to come play with us, it is the weekend of June 28th through to the 30th. It's going to be an amazing and astounding experience. And on that note, take the leap. We'll have fun, and I will see you soon. If there's anything else, now's the time. Okay, understood, gang. Have a great night. I'm going to go play with my little people, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Goodbye.